I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence to let them in, talk up their body, another one body, that's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, I to stay on the go. I can play with the pros and act like a rookie so they overlook me. Then I double up again, none of their knows, none of them cold. They just got lucky but never adapted, so I'm to wonder if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close, I let them think that they got me, but what do you know? I had them beat before we ever spoke, I'm ready for smoke. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war.
I've been ready, always ready.
Oh, we're live?
We definitely are. You playing the intro? I appreciate it. Yeah, shout out to Nate Rose there over at whatever it was called.
Hold on a second. My thing's messed up. Hold on 1 second, Dev. All right. So here's the scenario. Peep the scenario, Dev.
Okay. I'm peeping.
You're about to get married, right?
Okay.
Your fiance comes to you and she's like, babe. I just imagine that's how your fiance says, like, babe.
Babe. Okay.
Joanne's going to throw me a bachelorette party. There's going to be strippers there. What do you say? Go.
Babe, there's gonna be strippers there. I guess, because I don't know. Here's my thing. I think it would depend on the relationship that I was in. I mean, me personally, depending on the whole thing, like, I wouldn't care if it was like something where like I'm gonna have strippers at my bachelor party or whatever, because I think that's kind of like a trope of having strippers at the bachelor or bachelorette party, the male, female, etc. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It all depend, because I feel like that's on the... No, for me, I would just be like, okay, honey, that's fine. You can have strippers at the thing. You can't get mad if I got strippers at mine. That's how I would be like, okay, that's fine. You can have your bachelorette party.
You say, go ahead, have strippers. No big deal. It's no big deal. But, okay, here's the twist.
Okay.
Year down the line, you guys got married, having a great relationship. She's out of town. You got to turn to Pornhub, bro. You got to get one off.
Wait, hold on, Ryan. What about Pornhub?
You got to turn to Pornhub. She's out of town visiting her parents. You had to work. Whatever scenario, you're just not with her. She's out of town for a couple of days. All right? Mm-hmm. So you got to turn to Pornhub to get one out, rub one out or whatever. So you go to Pornhub, and then up pops bachelorette parties.
Oh. Well, then I guess my work was cut out for me then, wasn't it? Because I could just watch that video, I guess. Because look, it's like, because then she couldn't come back and say, you were watching porn. And I was like, but you were in it.
But yeah, that's the thing, though. You catch her in there. You got tame parties, and then you got wild parties, bro. You catch her in there. She's all drunk, and she's getting her back broke by a stripper. What are you doing?
I guess we're done. I guess we're done. Like, we're gonna go back and be like, yeah, like I guess this is over, because it showed that you were cheating, like right before we got married. So, like
you couldn't let it slide, like it's the last, like was like
the last thing. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, it depends on the relationship you have with somebody. Like, if I was having like a monogamous, if we had a pre-established monogamous relationship, right? And I think, like, if you're going to get married, you're probably going that route. Then I'd be like, yeah, like, this is kind of over. But, like, if I had an established, like, polyamorous relationship with this person where it was, like, me and, like, I had, like, another girlfriend and then she had, like, another boyfriend and then, and then we were going to get married and then whatever, however that all works, then it wouldn't be that big of an issue to me. But like I said, but if it was granted that I was married to this woman, yeah, I'd probably be like, yeah, like, this is pretty over. You know what I mean? Like, this is pretty over.
I would, dude, I'd lose it. I'd lose it if that was the case. Even if I was, because I know on my bachelor night, I'm just going to put it out there. Like, it's going to be wild, bro. It's going to be hangover. So I'm not going to know what happened.
You're going to wake up with Mike Tyson and his pet tiger at your house?
Right. I'm not going to know what happens. But still, I can't have that information. I can't have that out there where, you know what I mean? Just imagine a girl that does porn worrying about just her dad finding it. Now I'm going to be worried about my family or
your friends finding it. Yeah, right.
never hear the last of that shit. Yo, sorry. And hopefully she was the breadwinner and I get a big settlement out of the divorce, because that's just evidence, you know what I mean? You gotta let it out there.
Yeah,
you gotta let it out there.
Well, there's a couple of chats out here we have to read. So Justin says, midgets' booties look tight as fuck. Justin Gower also says, my wife works third shift, so she knows I look at porn when I'm horny. Boston Joey also said his stripper name is Cheesecake. Cheesecake. Joey, you know when I see you again, I'm calling you Cheesecake, man. I'm gonna be like, Joey, hey, yo, big Cheesecake. And I'll be like, does your mom know? I'll be like, does your mom know about your?
You shouldn't have let that out the bag, Joey. It's too late now. Your nickname's Cheesecake now.
Yeah, you've been exposed. You've been exposed.
All right, so what do we got? What's popping, Coach?
So this is hey everybody tuning in. How's it going, everybody? Dev, Coach here, Coach B. You know who it would be. And we're back at it, another episode of Bridging the Gap, guys. We are live again. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful Monday. You know, we like to be here to brighten up your Mondays, guys. Yeah.
It's hot as ball.
Yeah. Well, listen, there's central air at the house now, so it feels great. Although, like, I remember I was telling you that last time we did the show, like, I was freezing to death because of how cold it was. It's like I was messing with the thermostat, you know, doing that kind of thing at the house, and I got it, like, just right now. But I think a good tie-in to the strippers, you were bringing this up. So I decided today I wanted to go a little international with our news, you know, and talk, like, our stories that we usually talk about, they're mostly centered in America, but this one's interesting. So apparently Egypt jails TikTok women influencers for posting promiscuous content.
What do you mean, jails? You mean the police? Not the jails. The jails just hold people.
Right. I mean, but I'm saying, like, they're thrown in prison. Like,
oh, okay.
They're in prison for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
And that to me is absolutely crazy. I mean, Coach, imagine we have, like, the women we have on the TikTok and, like, on, hell, I see some Facebook stories, bro, where women are just doing some promiscuous stuff. And imagine that there's, like,
promiscuous. Define promiscuous.
Just dance, like, if it was just, like, belly dancing or, you know, like, I mean, like, just twerking, whatever, man. Like, that's what they're getting hit with. They're getting hit with dancing, like belly dancing, all that stuff.
Our whole culture would be locked up.
Yeah,
that was the case.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, imagine living in a country where, like, they police that. And apparently they put pop singers in prison as well. Like, pop singers from over in Egypt have been thrown in prison for their promiscuity. It's baffling do me how a country could do that.
Kind of culture over there. It's always been that kind of culture. Women, you can't do things like that.
But here's what's interesting. You had a leader. You had one of the first strong female leaders in history as one of your basically emperors of your country at one point, Cleopatra. You know, your queen. And she was notorious for these shows and displays of virtuous body movements and stuff like that, like belly dancing, which is a tradition among African cultures, especially the North African, Central American, you know, Arabic communities. And then you're going to, because they dance that way, you're going to throw them in prison.
I think probably I think history-wise, I don't know. I can't speak too much on. I know who Cleopatra is and what she did and all that, but I don't know around what time that it probably changed, because I know in the 80s they used to have all those movies where American women would go to Egypt and like Iraq and all that stuff, and marry an Iraqian, and they would think they were so sweet over here, but once they got over in the country, they have to cover their face. They can't talk to a man. They can't do this, and they were basically kidnapped.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So it reminds me of that. What you're saying is, like, I don't know when that changed where they couldn't do those things. I guess the entertainment part of it, maybe they have certain females that, you can do that stuff, but maybe it was because I know if you got crimes against somebody like in your family, like some of these countries will kill their daughter. A dad and brother will kill their daughter, their sister and their daughter because of promiscuity, or whatever you call it,
promiscuity.
promiscuity. So it's a tough culture to grow up over there for women, man. It really is.
Yeah, just in that Muslim culture, not just Muslim, but like Middle Eastern culture. I wanted to see what the government is, because I'm kind of curious if the Egyptian government is a theocracy, as a semi-presidential republic. Huh? Interesting. So they just have, like, I guess, strict theocratic laws over there, but they're a republic. Interesting. Anyway, sorry, I thought that was something worth looking into, is, what was their government affiliation there. So I don't know. I don't know when it changed. I'm honestly going to assume that because someone like Cleopatra back in the day, they had certain advantages, being the empress of your country, that you could get away with those kind of things. But if you're
Cleopatra was badass though, bro.
Yeah.
She was messing with the Roman dude,
Caesar, and also and Octavius, the guy who succeeded Caesar. Like, she played both them, bro. She was in a sense the original hoe, I guess. Like, she was like, all right, hold on. Oh, they got rid of him.
Whoa, you better rewind that. You better not say that. You're gonna have a whole. I didn't say it.
Coach did not say it, right? But I'm just saying, she went right straight from him. Was like, oh yeah, let me go to Octavius then, because she did have a thing for Roman men with power, and I think she did. But like, I was reading the 48 Laws of Power, and when they talk about Cleopatra, I think she did a lot of those things to. Everybody's getting their history lessons.
She was trying to preserve. She was trying to align and preserve her people, because Rome would have came over there and did some damage. You know what I mean? And she did a good job at whatever she had to do. So
right, because he came over. He came over and he's like, "Hey, let's talk." And she's like, "Oh yeah, let's talk." And then because of that, he just had her underneath. They never really messed with. I mean, Egypt did become part of the Rome, but like they were kind of. They had their own thing. Like, they had their own, like, jurisdiction, really, because of that relationship. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, that's always, like, those things, when I run into, like, people that come over to college or something, you run into them, all my time, or even in high school. We had some couple exchange students from over there with Middle Eastern descent, and coming fresh over there, and they were new to the country. They knew how to speak English. But there was certain things, like, I mean, they wouldn't talk about certain things. Like, if you were just joking around, like high school stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would be like, you could see it in their face. They didn't have to cover their face or anything, but you could see it in their face that I got to get away from this. And then there was always a brother or a cousin popping out of nowhere, like out of a garbage can, like looking at her like, you better not answer him. Like, you know what I mean?
Like,
it was just weird.
He just like raised up, like, what are you going to say?
Yeah, just looks at me. Well, and we're like, oh, you want to hang out at the party? And she's like, no, I can't go out to no parties. I have to, go home. And, and I'm like, dang, that kind of sucks. But, yeah, but I get it, because my intentions was you're hot.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah,
so what high school kids do.
Yeah, so you had to, it was a defense mechanism. Well, and I would have to ask anybody out there in the audience, I mean, what do you think? What do you think about, jailing people for promiscuity? Do you think like women being revealing is something that's like a jailable offense? I'm genuinely curious if anybody thinks that out there. And Justin Gower says that Coach is a belly dancer on the side. He did my bachelor party. Coach, how much you charging for your belly dancing?
Yo, belly dancing, that's you gotta have the bag there. You gotta go up the mill. I'm charging like 50 did to the sheiks over in Iraq in the club. A mill.
A mill. You got to get Coach's professional services. Well, hell, they'll throw you in jail, Coach, for your belly dancing. So you got to be sure. You got to make an insurance policy on that mill.
Well, I guess if I was belly dancing, they would consider me probably gay, and that's not a good thing over there either, right?
I'm not sure about Egypt's particular views on homosexuality. I know there's a lot of Middle Eastern countries there, but I'm not sure. Any country that treats women like shit sucks ass, Justin Gower says. Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah, although I'm not going to lie. I have a daughter, and some little cousins and cousins. Yeah, I wish I could say it. I wish I have some of that say so at times, when they were growing up, and be like, get home now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And do that, but you obviously can't. But sometimes you want to when you got daughters and little cousins and you know
Right.
what I mean,
Well,
nieces and
well, I'm all cool with like if you're like the parent and they're like, like they're not 18 years old and they're like doing something and you're like, I don't like this, and then you could, get them home, whatever. But like we're saying, like going to prison, like you're going to jail because of it. Renee oh my God, Gustafson. Why do I always mess up Gustafson? Yeah.
mess it up. That what's up, Renee?
Anyway, Renee, she says, I think the human body is beautiful and society has made it offensive. Yeah, I think that's very true.
Does she believe we should all walk around naked again?
Yeah. Renee, are you a nudist? Do you believe we should all walk around naked? Listen, I've had this talk with like a bunch of people before. Being a nudist, I feel like it'd be so weird for like the first 2 weeks, and then you'd get used to it. But I think wearing clothes would have more to do like with protection purposes and style purposes, really, than like a moral kind of question. Like, if you're like chilling outside and doing sports, like you wouldn't want to just be naked doing that, like you fall and like bust your balls off something, like no one wants to do that. And same goes for women, like I think clothes are kind of like a protection mechanism. They protect people from the elements too. So it's not just about the moral question, I guess. Definition of a third world country: you still ride camels, you shit in a hole, and you treat women like second-class citizens. Is that actually the definition of a third world country? I think there's probably socioeconomic factors in there, but I will take that, Justin. I will use that.
Yeah, you can't like what you're saying. Like I always have this conversation. No matter what their beliefs are, those are their beliefs. We can say that they're wrong or not like that. But when they say third whole world country, all those countries that we see, like it's a media thing. Like when they were saying Mexico and they show Mexico in the movies, what do they show in Mexico?
Yeah, like a village that's like kind of, it's a village with like there's like a bunch of poor people. There's like one guy with like a sombrero tipped down sitting on like outside of a building
Drinking
somewhere.
tequila.
Yeah, trashed out of his mind.
They don't show how beautiful those cities and those beaches are. You know what I mean? So people get the mindset. That's why it was so easy to vilify Mexicans this time around with the wall and all that, because we don't see too much of that unless you've been to Mexico. Mexico is so beautiful. Now I'm gonna tell you, it's just like New York City or any rough up place. Don't take a wrong turn. Don't take a right when you should have took a left, because you will end up around. You know what I mean? Not just in cartel country or something. You know what I mean? You'll be a mule on the way back to the United States.
He said like, here, you need to put this pound of coke up your ass. What? Do it. You don't got a choice. Renee came out and said, I am an exhibitionist to a certain extent. Oh, really?
What's that?
Oh, so she's like basically like being extravagant. What's the definition? A person who behaves in an extravagant way in order to attract attention. So so if you're like a nudist, it would be kind of a form of exhibitionism. Like you're acting in an extravagant way outside of the norm to attract attention.
When she says extravagant, what does she mean? Like maybe dressing provocative or singing?
Yeah, dressing provocative, doing actions in public that normally wouldn't be done in public, in a sexual manner, like like having sex in public would be exhibitionism.
Oh,
that'd be a form of it.
I like it.
He's like, I like it.
So speaking on like countries and stuff, like things are going the hell over here in our country, bro. For real.
Yeah.
You don't see too much of like getting flooded with it anymore. But there's still a lot of protesting and a lot of things going on right now. And the other day, something happened at a protest, at a Breonna Taylor protest in Kentucky, which is the NFAC, which stands for the Not Fucking Around Coalition. They're basically a black militia. They're not protesters. They tell you that straight out.
Okay, gotcha. So
they're not.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
They're like counter to the white militias. They're saying their thing is, we're not going to allow you come intimidate people no more. We're going to stand in the front lines, and then you could try to intimidate us now. You know what I mean? That type of feel that they have right there. So what happened over the weekend, there was the 3%ers were there. There was a whole bunch of militias in Kentucky. They're all, high strung. So you can just imagine. They all got guns. Everything's high strung. You know what I mean? So I guess a female member of the the NFAC. She was clean. I guess they were cleaning their guns, getting ready, just locking and loaded, and then the gun went off accidentally.
Oh, okay.
And it hit a couple of other NFAC members, which tells me it had to go off more than once if you hit 3 people.
Right. Unless they were all just in a line, I guess. But even that, naturally, then again, a bullet. I mean, what gun does she have? A 50 caliber to shoot through 3 people? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it would be holes like this.
I was gonna say, well, I'm just saying you're gonna need a pretty powerful damn gun to shoot through 3 people, depending on what it is. I mean, you can't shoot a 9mm and it shoot through 3 people. Yeah, so had to be multiple times.
Yeah, and there's 2 things to this that caught my attention, because things are so highly. I mean, everybody's on edge, man. This cannot happen. You cannot happen. And then the NFAC is coming out and saying she was a trainee. Now, one, she shouldn't be there. If she's a trainee, she shouldn't be there. You should have better. That's not good coaching. That's not good leadership. She should have to prove that she should be there. Shouldn't be bringing people for numbers and trainees and stuff like that. That's one. And 2, that if that gun would have went off towards those 3 percenters, imagine what would have happened.
Oh, it would have been a massacre. It would have been like a war zone.
It would have been a war zone. Not just there, bro.
Everywhere.
The tensions are so bad everywhere. Everybody would have started doing knucklehead shit.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm all for protesting. I'm all for exercising your 2A and all that. But make sure that those people there, that's just coaching 101. You make sure the people are prepared to be in that position, because that shit could have went horribly bad. And it's just, I was proud of what they're doing. They're standing up, because there's not too many militias that are black militias like that came out in those numbers and are standing up and making sure that protesters ain't being intimidated on subjects that have to do with the black community. So I respected that. But this type right here, I mean, anything can happen, but you got to do better with that. So, you got to do better. You just got to make sure that there's people out there that know how to handle those guns, because one mistake like that, it could spark a whole craziness, and I don't want to see that.
No, absolutely. And I think you're right with the tensions being so high everywhere else, that if something had happened where a stray shot had gone off and hit one of those 3 percenters, I mean, we'd be in trouble. And I think it's good that you have black militias that are kind of coming out to stand against these groups of other militias that are being intimidated, where they stand out there with their ARs and their assault rifles. And then you have neo-Nazi groups that are literally like, I mean, there is a university very close to us where they were walking around parading like Nazis out publicly, just walk around with their flag and stuff, parading around. And I guess that's their right, whatever. But that could be seen as an intimidation to other groups, and especially, the black community and any other race, really, in America. So it's good that you have these kind of like counter militias. And now, here's an argument I got into the other day on Facebook with somebody that I thought ties into this conversation, is that they had brought up how many cops have been killed by Antifa. He said more cops have been killed by Antifa and BLM than black people this year.
Is that fact?
Not only is it fact, it's complete and utter headassery. I went and looked into it. So this year, sorry, we'll just go by last year's stats. So last year, 106 police officers died, right? And the number of police officers that were actually murdered, because they were killed in the line of duty, but only 48 of them were actually murdered. The other ones involved accidents. Like of that 106, the rest of them involved accidents, health problems, and varying degrees of certain things that happened out on a police. So like they weren't killed by someone murdering them. Most of them weren't. Like a little bit less than half of them were actually murdered. And black people was up. It was like, and this is actually killed. This is confirmed killed by police was 200. So it was like you're saying like a number like 48 to 200 and something. Yeah, okay. And then looking at the numbers now of this year, I mean, it would be totally asinine to even say that. I mean, how many cops have actually been killed in the line of duty this year from BLM protesters?
None. You can't trace one. There hasn't been one, has there?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm going to say. How do you even know?
Right.
I mean, how do you even know who's someone like, does that, are you saying a black person killing a cop constitutes? And I got to tell you, there's no way that number is more. There's just no way.
Yeah, it would have been all over the news.
It would have been
Yeah,
all over the news if if Black Lives Matter people were literally killing cops
cop.
at a rate more so than black people were killing police officers in this country. For one, the argument would be way more skewed in favor of the police. The media would especially the Fox media would immediately latch onto that. I haven't heard that narrative or story come out of the conservative side ever. And we have, again, all of these people making these claims that they just can't substantiate. And here we are now. We have people like, black people that are out in the community, who want to police and do these and be part of these militias. When you have people that actually believe that actually believe that cops are actually really the victim of these crimes and are being killed. Like there's people that literally believe that BLM is killing police officers. That's a cause for concern where you need your militia out there, because you might have people come out and say, look, they're going to kill the cops, and then something happens.
And let's be honest, the ones that they caught that killed were Boogaloo boys. They were white dudes that caught those guys, and the federal officers, and killed 2 police officers that day. Those were Boogaloo boys. Those were a white militia. The ones that I only know that got killed during this whole thing, the cops that I only know, were killed by white militias. So that's something that you can't spread false facts. If you don't know, just say you don't know, and then go do the research, and then give the right information, because that's dangerous. You can get a person, like, it's so dangerous that maybe this is why some of the hate happens. Like, you can get a person all riled up right now, and then they see a black dude, vice versa, or a black dude or a white dude walking down the street, and you just told him some crazy stats, and he might have been off his meds that day, and he goes outside and does something stupid.
Something crazy, because he literally feels like his way of life is being threatened. Yeah, it's an important distinction. You gotta do that. And this is the sad part, is it took me 5 minutes on Google to look into the statistics of the national government and all that to debunk it. It took 5 minutes, and that's all it would take. If this guy would have just taken 5 minutes to show that and look at it himself, he would have saved himself the trouble and all that stuff. But they won't look into it. There's people that are stuck in that belief. And again, I just want to say that I think it's good that you have counter militias to potential radicalized groups that actually believe those kind of stories.
Yeah. And that goes to, because I think there's going to be some kind of eruption at some particular point between militias, and then you add on top of that the Operation Legend, which is,
let's move into that. That's a good segue.
Right, which is Donald Trump sending that's what he calls it. To me, another narcissistic move. You know what I mean? Like legend, like it doesn't fit the scenario right now, but you can tell he made the name. But they're going in to places like Portland. They've been to Portland so far, and then they also been to, before that they went and, what was the name of that, Chop or whatever it was?
What?
And disband Chop in Seattle. Remember
Chaz.
Chaz. They disbanded that, and then they ended up in Portland. And these guys are just you know who they're attacking though? They're saying they're protecting federal buildings from, when the guy was down there, I forgot who made the joke about it. It was hilarious. Because the guys down there, the guys that's in charge from the government, the DOJ, I think, he's like, yeah, we're protecting these buildings. And all that's on it is like graffiti. So you guys are protecting?
Hold on. Justin made a question here. Well, he said one thing. He said, here's the problem. The internet has become very, very dangerous. The amount of misinformation out there is bad. And then he said, actually, Pence came up with it. The name of Chaz, or the name of the operation?
Operation Legend, I guess.
Okay, gotcha. All right, interesting.
Okay, so okay, Pence came up with it, but I'm sure Trump was in the background with a fucking bottle.
He's the vice president to the president. You don't think like they interact? I'm sure that there was something. But who cares about the name, really, honestly, except for the fact that they tried to tie it in. And I think that's a very big point that we'll talk about here. Is this whole Operation Legend? Is it really for the betterment of the community, or is it a show of force masquerading as an act of goodwill for the community?
It's just another way of him adding on to that weird ass shit he did with the Bible, walking across, hitting them up with tear gas, the protesters in DC, and doing that. It's just another way to see where his base at, because he has to know now, what do I have to grind out from now to election? Because I am losing. You know what I mean? It's not looking good. You know what I mean? Right now for him. you could see it on his movements, the way he's moving. He's calmed his demeanor down. So they told him, hey, man, you need to pull it back a little bit. We need to try to get these votes up because you're losing everybody right now. Everything that's going on and stuff like that. So he's saying he's attaching on to law and order. This is what I get from everybody from both sides. Law and order, and the other sides is saying that's what he's attaching on. So he's going to go out there and flex his, like he's got balls, and then it's going to cause problems. Now, I hate to see, now this is what's happening though, Def. They're going after mothers. Mothers are surrounding the protesters. A mothers group came out. They started grabbing mothers and whisking them off, and you know what I mean, shooting them with pellets. You know what I mean? Peaceful shit. And then
wait, the pellets are peaceful shit? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying they were doing peaceful shit.
Oh, they were doing okay. Go ahead.
So when that happened, the service people started coming out, veterans and everything. Then they surrounded the moms. So now you got like a nucleus. So you got like the protesters in the middle, the moms around them, and then the veterans, the servicemen. So they didn't engage with the servicemen yesterday. They didn't. So that tells me that you motherfuckers ain't out here. You're just looking for people. If they're out of pocket, you're looking for somebody to destroy, but you're not willing to take that step right there, because that right there would would go batshit crazy if you attack some vets.
Oh, you know I mean? Absolutely. Well, you would defeat your whole purpose. I think if you did a move like that, it would single-handedly destroy your whole entire campaign. If you were behind an operation that hurt the veterans, I mean, like and as we saw with what's his name, Mr. Wallace there. Also, Justin Gower says he would have suggested Operation Camel Toe. I'm kind of curious why you would suggest that name.
Because he just is always saying stripper shit.
Yeah. He just says wacky shit. Justin just says the wackiest stuff, guys. Guys, ignore Justin. He's off his meds. Anyway.
He's off his head.
But anyway, I was just going to say that it would destroy your whole entire campaign. And this whole thing to me just comes off as, like you said, a flex of force. To say, oh, look at me, guys, I'm going to hold to that base, the base of basically he's got a base of people that love authoritarianism. I mean, we have a fascist regime, like people, this is after looking into this stuff and listening to a lot of, reactionaries and whatnot. I have no doubt that there are people in this country that would have voted for Hitler. I have no doubt. There are people right now that would vote for Donald Trump if he was saying things like that Hitler was saying. Like, they would vote for him. I have no doubt in my mind. And these actions that he's taking are those going to silence and bring your government to come, basically not your local police force, but your federal government agents to come down on your local protesters, on your BLM, on your organizations, and the search of what exactly? A de facto terrorist organization like Antifa?
Yeah, go after Antifa, because they're not up to no good. They're up to no good. The protesters, the flat out BLM, bro, you're not gonna see. BLM doesn't even, the head of BLM and all them, they don't do interviews, they don't go on shows, they don't do podcasts. These people, there's people on the streets that they are assembling and putting some money into that to get people out there. But most of that's very peaceful. It's just people out there yelling, screaming, what we seen, Dev. Most of the stuff that was happening probably would have been, remember how I said I walked behind those guys with the guns before they left? Once they left, then I caught up with the crowd because I was looking at them. They just looked like they were up to no good, like they were going to do something.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I followed behind them before I caught up to the movement. A lot of that stuff is happening behind there where everybody's up marching 2 blocks away. They're back there looting because all the attention's up there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I wanted to add this too. I mean, do you know what? And Justin added a great question. And we'll answer that here in a second. But I wanted to say this. I mean, do you know what Antifa stands for?
I forget.
Anti-fascist.
It's something that's already been done.
Anti-fascist.
Jewish community.
Yeah, it stands for anti-fascist because, and you're right. Well, like when they're talking about the Jewish community, because in Germany during like World War II when Hitler came to power, his fascist dictatorship, that he was targeting the Jewish people, and the Antifa is basically an organization that's kind of risen up to go against, because they perceive the racial targeting systematically and the elevation of it rising as a form of fascism in the making. And they're trying to stand against that. Now, do I agree with all of their methods and everything else? No, but I can understand why an organization would see the need to rise, considering the signs that we are seeing of fascism within our government policies.
The only problem I have with that, like if you rise and you stand up and you're willing to take on the government with violence, that's on you, because it says that in the thing that you
right. Don't involve. I agree. That's what I mean by the methods. Don't grab the protesters and use them as a shield. Yes. Basically, don't use those people as a shield.
Don't piggyback off of them and then cause destruction, and then you go hide your face and then dip off and say, "Look what we did." Well, what did you really accomplish?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You make the people the victim of your fight, basically, the casualties, because they're in the middle of that and they're trying to get change done through a peaceful manner, and you're trying to go at it from a direct, unpeaceful manner, and it's a troubling thing.
Yeah, you just stand up and you go take on those people and leave this all the peaceful people, no matter what it is that they get involved with. I would imagine they get involved with every protest, like no matter what it is. They're creeping around doing some dumb shit.
Yeah, just about.
I'll rumble with them. I'll rumble with them just as much as I'll rumble with the
agents.
The right, the agent, all of them. Like if you guys are coming that way, like if I was stuck in that scenario, say we went to the one we went to, and then it turned into all batshit hell, I'm in. Let's go. I'm stuck in here. This is where the hill I'll die on if it gets to that point. You know what I mean? Because right. I believe in this. I believe that when that stuff happens, that those amendments and those rights that we have to stand up to tyranny, I believe in that shit. I believe that you should be, and everybody should be pissed. The people with the 2A should be pissed that this is happening, that they're sending, they made an interesting a meme the other day. It said that you guys go out to every 2A protest and you're crying about wearing masks right now, taking away your freedom, but you're okay with the federal government jumping out on protesters and just grabbing them off the street, and then no explanation, no nothing, just grabbing them and taking them. Yeah. The one picture they had of the
I mean, I'm not saying that they aren't. I haven't looked into this, but I mean, like, why am I not hearing 2A'ers go out against that? Because I truthfully believe that people that are these not all your 2A'ers, but a lot of your 2A'ers and your conservatives, they want to see those people pulled away and arrested. And that's what I mean by by we have people in this country that I think would vote for Hitler. Because they would support the secret police, the Gestapo, that would come and grab people that didn't agree with their political affiliations. Like, they would like to see that happen. I genuinely believe there's a lot of people that are that way, that think that way. Anyway, Justin's question, I wanted to get to it. So he said, here's an honest question. So if Portland, for example, gets worse and the city basically burns down to the ground, wouldn't it reflect badly if he didn't do anything? And then that's for you. I'll let you answer that, Coach, and I'll give my 2 cents on it.
No, you go ahead and answer.
The answer I have for it is that, hey, Portland didn't even want them there. The city of Portland didn't want them there. Now, Justin said, here's how Trump should have handled it. Here's how we suggest you get your city under control. If you can't come up with a better idea or follow a suggestion, you don't get federal assistance for rebuilding. That way, he lets the local politics band leader their cities and states, and if it fans, it's on them. If it fails, it's on them. Yeah, well, you know something? I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with you saying, hey, we're going to cut off, aid if you're like federal aid if you're for rebuilding after all this goes down. If you're not coming, like if you're trying to do this your own way, basically. But again, like, I think Portland's trying to do something like unprecedented, and that's trying to work with its community and its people to get to a better place. I mean, and trust in their community outside of the police force, saying, like, let's reinvest in different programs, like very progressive, I think anyway, good progressive programs to help control crime rates, better standards of living, so on and so forth in Portland. And I think you have a president who, or not just a president, but an administration that doesn't want to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets out of hand, like with the guys, like we talked about this before, with the guys in Chaz or Chop or whatever the hell they were calling it, and you guys had fun. We let it go for a little while. We asked you politely. We tried to negotiate with you to get you out. You don't want to get out. Now we got to give you a little swat with the broom on the butt. Get out. You know what I mean? That type of thing, working together well with the government and the local agencies together. So, do it as peaceful as possible. But from my understanding, what's happened with these federal agents, that they're engaging with these people when they don't have to. They don't have to engage at all. Just let them do what they're going to do until they tire out and go home.
And the local politicians don't want them there. The local politicians do not want the federal government and federal agents there. The mayor of Portland and many others have said, "Get out of here," and they were there. So,
and I agree that you have to have that because, like they said, like he said out of his mouth, I'm leaving it up to governments to deal with the corona. Leave it up to the governments to handle the local governments to handle it themselves. Now, in a place like Chicago, I would be sitting at the table. If I was the mayor or the thing at the Chicago, I would be up in office right now and saying, we need to do something about what's going on. It's a war zone in Chicago. Mm-hmm. It's a war zone, flat out. And I would be like, we're going to have to do something. I don't want you guys going in there aggressive. I just want you in the background. And then we go through that community and start talking to people and start saying, hey, man, this is where it's at. This is what they're going to do if we don't stop doing what we're doing to each other. And work with the leaders, work with everybody, get a joint task. Just don't fly off the handle, bro. I have nothing wrong with when things get out of hand where you have to bring in the people that are put there to keep things under control. But they can't be rogue. They can't just be out there just doing crazy shit,
right?
So that's how I feel.
Yeah, because it feels like their interests aren't with like federal agents to me. That their interests don't seem as if they're there to quell anything, really, just to almost intimidate and scare the people, get numbers, information down on who are the troublemakers in this community. Again, it smells of like a fascist dictatorship almost. Not saying that it is, but like that stuff, that's what it smells like. Funny, every time I read about these riots, I picture the Wild West in Dodge City.
Yeah. These guys, like like I said, most of it's peaceful. It's not really riots. They're just protesting. They're down there dancing, having fun. But they got a message. Some of them, a lot of the majority of people are there for good intentions. They're not there for ill.
So, yeah, I mean, do you have anything else on that? Or you want to move on to the next thing?
Nah, what else you got, bro? Hit me. Come on, talk to me.
All right, so we'll keep on this because I want to talk about China here in a little bit, but I want to wait on that. Trump appointed USPS Postmaster General plans to slow. Trump backed Postmaster General plans to slow mail delivery. So now we're going to talk about the U.S. Post Office here. And this is important because as many know that like a lot of this election because of COVID might be done through the mail. Sorry, Deb, my stupid phone's autocorrect is sucking ass. I need to proofread before I send. LOL. Yeah, do it. Get your shit together, Justin.
Oh, what'd he do? It didn't come out right. What he wanted to say or something?
Yeah, he must have said something. I don't pick up on it. I didn't see where he misspelled something. But anyway, so the U.S. Post Office has been in decline since 2006. For one, there was laws in place that got rid of their fundraising, like their ability to fundraise, as well as laws that made them pay, I think it was like 80% to 90% of the pensions for their future workers ahead of time. So they're basically paying for employees of their department that aren't even born yet. They were forced to pay that. Yeah, I know. No other federal branch of anything in our government does that except for the USPS. And why? That's a good question. That's a great question. I plan on doing a video at some point to like really deep dive and look into the why. Like, why was this bill passed? But I don't know off the top of my head. But for whatever reason, it was passed for them to pay those pensions and whatnot ahead of time. So then to me it feels like what it is, it's conservatives sabotaging the USPS because they want to privatize it, because that's the thing about like our government that's hyper capitalistic, is they want to privatize all industries, that way they can charge the shit out of you, because the USPS was made so that way people had equal, kind of like a nice equal access to distribute and send mail, without having to pay like extreme fees or anything like that. And now we're kind of getting into the weeds with things now, because now they have no way to raise funds, because there was things like buying stamps and whatnot that they could do to raise money for them, and the USPS has been losing money for years, like billions of dollars every year, and then they need bailed out. And here's a funny thing: is Donald Trump said he didn't want to bail out the USPS, its federal branch, because it said it's a joke. The Postal Service, he said he didn't want to bail out because it's a joke. Yet, there's bills and money aside to bail out big corporations, and I think that's just funny.
He's been attacking that since he came in office.
Yep.
He's trying to disband that for whatever reason, because the only thing that I could think of is he has to have a company in mind that would pick up the slack, because the front runner would be Jeff Bezos and them. They're the ones that would probably be the front runner on getting things done if the post office was gone.
Right, they would privatize, or they would buy the post office and privatize it, and then they'd make it like FedEx or something, where they would just charge higher rates to ship and distribute things. And actually, hell,
isn't that a federal government? You can't buy that.
Right. They would, but that's what I mean by privatization. Like they would, what the United States, their plan would probably be the United States government would eventually get rid of the USPS, or they would offer it up for some kind of like, I don't know, stock option or something. Do you think they're losing tons of money because everyone is paying bills online, Amazon, etc.? On average, I only actually use a stamp 4 times a year. Oh, is that why they're losing money? That could be a big part of it on why they're losing money. There's a lot of reasons why, but a big part of it is that paying the pensions of future workers of the USPS for like I said, they haven't even been born yet. Why? I need to look into that. That's a very question that needs to be answered.
Is that a thing? Maybe we talked about. Is that a security thing? Like they're actually doing something for their future, trying to keep that. Yeah, it could be that they're trying to keep that craft together, because think about it, the post office has been around like since when I remember the story.
Was it Ben Franklin, the guy who invented the post office, like the concept of like distribution of mail and whatnot?
I'm more thinking you can go that deep. That I'm more thinking of the Kevin Costner movie.
He's like, come think about the Kevin Costner movie. Okay. With the one Kevin Costner with what's her name? The singer. That's a different movie, but
no, it was called The Postman. It was
Whitney
a good
Houston.
movie.
Whitney Houston.
Because that's the Bodyguard. But The Postman, it told the story of how it came about and how they were doing it, and the fight that they won. Because people were trying to hijack the mail. It's a great movie. You should watch it sometime. You're a history buff. You would like it. But
okay.
But in saying that, I think if they're looking at, to me, like it's like the what we talked about with the unions, like you said, with the unions should take care of everybody. Are they really looking ahead forward, saying we're going to make sure this job, your pension's already paid, so I already got this job, we got them taken care of? It's one of those type of scenarios. I'd have to get more information, but on just hearing that, I kind of think it's a good thing for the post office.
Yeah, here's what I'm thinking though. But what the problem is it kills the post office and what it does. So like this is actually from the United States Postal Service and it said retiree health benefits pre-funding. Challenge: significant financial losses result from a legislative requirement that the Postal Service pre-fund and retiree health benefits. Solution: adopting a traditional pay-as-you-go method would produce an average of $5.65 billion in additional cash flow per year. Unlike any other public, like this is the United States Postal Service saying like what would help them get back on their feet. We must pay today for the benefits that will not be paid until out until some future date. Other federal agencies and most private sector companies use a pay-as-you-go system, but which the entity pays premiums as they are billed. Shifting to such a system would equate to an average of $5.65 billion in additional cash flow per year through 2016. The save Postal Service which would save them an estimated $50 billion over the next 10 years. With the announcement of our action plan in March, we began laying the foundation for change, requesting that Congress restructure this obligation. The pre-funding requirement as it currently stands contributes significantly to the postal losses. Under current law, the Postal Service must follow a mandated pre-funding schedule of $5.5 billion to $5.8 billion per year through 2016. Let me see here. I want to find given the severity of our financial situation and the fact that we already have implemented aggressive cost-cutting and productivity improving measures, we continue to seek approval. So, the post office is, trying to do all these things, cut costs to save money, and there's still just not enough because this legislation. But I am, right now, in real time, I want to find the answer as to why that was passed.
Okay. So, but in saying that, now, this is why this shit, like politics and right, left, and all that bullshit that they put it into, they need to end the right, left bullshit. They just need to have candidates. Because the bottom line is, if you're talking historian, you're talking about, I'm not going to rename forts and army bases, and we're not taking, fighting against that, but you want to take something away that is positive about our American history?
Yeah.
Come on, man. This shit don't make sense. People need to open their eyes and just be like, yo, and call bullshit when it's bullshit. You know what I mean? It's bullshit. It's like for whatever reason, it has to do with money. I know to do that. That's what they want. That's what the people supporting Trump want for whatever reason. But the bottom line is, if you can make an argument for everything else you make argument about the United States and its history, there should be no way that the postal, you might have to cut it. You might have to make some cuts and do some things, but that should be his history. That should always happen. You know what I mean? Unless you're transferring those jobs, you're taking those people and saying, okay, now that if the post office goes and we make it a free market, you guys are the first in line to get these jobs or whatever, with the same pensions, the same or whatever. You know what I mean? That's the only way you can do that without being a total hypocrite, because we're humans, we're all hypocrites. But if you're flat out being a hypocrite right in front of our face every day, come on, man.
Interesting. Well, there's information here. I'm looking at Forbes and stuff, and I'm seeing some stuff. So we'll come back to this maybe at a later date when I have more information on that, because I do think it's interesting to know that. But I do think that you have a presidential. I do know this for a fact. You do have a president and an administration that's trying to take advantage of the fact that the USPS is crippled right now, and they're trying to make it worse during this time to try and help sway the election a little bit. So
they're trying to pounce. You didn't hear about this for a while, but it's back to, like I said, they're things are changing. It's not 2016 no more when you know what I mean? This dude's going to have to he's going to have to do something drastic, and I hate to see what that is. I hate to see at the point, because I can't see that dude not going kicking and screaming.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think there's a lot of people that think that he's going to go kicking and screaming. And a slightly different topic Justin proposed. He said, Trump did that interview with Wallace. Think that's his name. Biden declined to do an interview. What are your thoughts?
Biden, they're telling Biden to just shut up. We need to keep your mental. We need to try to build your mental things up. They're trying to find new ways, like maybe new studies or new pills or something to get his memory up.
And it's working for him. It's because he's staying hidden and not doing stupid stuff. And I got to be honest with you too. I'm sure that there's just a lot of interviews that Donald Trump has declined. I think Wallace, the background, the subtext of the Wallace interview was that Trump had made kind of special recommendations. Remember whenever Wallace started the interview, Trump said, what was the first thing you thought whenever I asked for an interview? He said, I want to know what you wanted to ask me, because he generally was I want to know if you're going to try and incriminate me or what are you going to do. And I actually think that's kind of cool of Fox News that you got Wallace in there, and Wallace gunned him, man, gunned him. And I would I would like to see an interview with Biden.
Yes, I would like to too. The one outside of Charlotte, once he said that dumb shit on Charlemagne, they give him like 3 minutes and then he's out. You know what I mean? They don't want him to say anything stupid anymore. Just be quiet, because all the polls are showing that we're winning. We just don't have to lose it right now. When it's time to fight, you just get your strength up, Joe. Let's get you some vitamins and
vitamins and minerals and stuff, man. So that way we can see that Skype debate, that
Skype
Zoom debate.
battle. It's gonna be hilarious, bro. They should charge tickets.
Right. Like I said, I think the best part, they have to figure out who could turn on the computer first. Like you're not allowed to help them. They have to get the computer on and join the Zoom call themselves.
They get extra points if whoever gets their shit working first. Whoever gets their shit working first. Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, enough of that. That stuff's coming, bro. Like I said, it's going to be a rough couple months leading up to November. There's no telling what's going to happen. I'm going to be 100% honest with you.
Right.
No one in my experience.
I'm still waiting on Godzilla. I'm still waiting on Godzilla to show up.
You still waiting on Godzilla? So all I say is be on your P's and Q's and go out and vote, man, and make your change or make it whatever, because it's just crazy right now with everything going on. We don't need this bullshit. Like, we just don't. So, all right. Another thing we don't need, bro. I'm kind of upset because it's going to affect football. The Miami, the Marlins, 11 people tested positive for COVID, right? Mm-hmm. 9 players and 2 coaches. So that's a drawback. That's going to be a drawback on how they handle it. Now, how the Major League Baseball and basketball handles this right now is going to be the determining factor if the NFL plays. Now, I don't know about you, bro, but I'm not going to make it through the winter if I can't watch football. I'm going to wild out. I'm going to be on the news. You're going to have to bail me out a couple times.
At times. Like I'll get a call at 3 a.m. Who is it? Oh, fuck, coach. What did you do now? Yeah, I'll be over. Yep, I have the bail account set aside. Yep, I'll open it up. All right, thank you. All right, good. All right, see you in a minute, man. Later. Hang up the phone.
It could happen, Dev.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, I don't know at this point. Like, after I've seen so many people, like we've seen the Marlins, we've seen, was it Harden and Westbrook tested positive for COVID? We've seen so many teams, and it's just, to me, I hate to say it, You're gonna start crying. I'm saying it.
Don't you say it.
I don't think you can. I don't think it's ethical to have another sports season. I mean, I don't know why the NBA, because I think Melvin, shout out to Melvin over there at Man Down, he brought up a good point where he was saying that, hey, they shouldn't do, they should just let this chill out, let the MLB just, you can't really have another season. He was like, we'll see. He's like, but if they finish up the season, even if they do that, there's what was it, the rules and all the specifications, there's just too many variables even if you put in those rules. I mean, didn't one of them break the rules to go see his family somewhere and then come back?
Zion.
Zion. If anybody can do that, I mean, you're putting yourself in trouble. You're jeopardizing everybody else in the league if you do stuff like that. So if they're not going to follow the rules, right? If Harden or Westbrook or if any NBA player is just going to break the rules, right, and no one's going to come down for repercussions, like they're suspended or whatever, then what's the point of having the league? And
Harden and Westbrook, they weren't inside the bubble. They were getting tested before it was time to go to the bubble, and they tested. So they just had to chill out for a minute, and then they rejoined, and then they're quarantining a little more, and then they're going to get tested, and they're going to be ready for I think it's Thursday's opening day. But tomorrow,
which is still crazy to me. Imagine you come down with COVID. I don't know. Eventually, I guess you have to start living your life again. They can't just put you in a bubble forever. But I'm just saying, that stuff's crazy to me, considering the apparent lack of information that we have on the long-term effects of COVID and all this other stuff. I mean, sure, I'm seeing there's a lot of people recovering, but then again, at the same time, we haven't even seen any of these athletes play after they come down with COVID. I kind of want to see that in a sense. I want to see, how do these players perform after coming down with this virus? Is it, because I think that would be an indicator to me if it's just the flu or if it's really something serious.
Because doesn't it scar your lungs? It could affect.
scars your lungs, it can scar your lungs. There's evidence to suggest that it does neurological damage to the brain.
So that would mess with your dribble.
Right, your motor skills. Yep, absolutely. There's all kinds of different. They think it also it affects the olfactory nerves, like your smell, your sense of smell forever. They don't know everything long term wise how this virus is going to affect everyone. But there is a part of me, like there's the mad scientist person I am, that wants to see the after effects of like an athlete who had COVID go out and play on the court and see like, is their play up to par, and everything else, because I think that would be an indicator to everybody if this is just a flu or if this is something serious. Oh, and Justin said blood clotting as well. Yeah, blood clots. So like heart attacks, strokes, those are also symptoms.
And that's a key factor, and that's what I was saying. Like the NFL is looking at this, like they're looking at it and they're saying, okay, MLB is not in a bubble. NBA is in a bubble. Mm-hmm. We have to figure out how we get this season on and the owners, it doesn't cost the owners money, because it can be done. Let's not get that messed up.
It definitely could.
That they're going to lose profits. So they're trying to do it without losing profits.
Yeah, they got to eat it. They got to eat a shit sandwich. But again, it's also the other side of that. I mean, there's players like, I think, what was it in the MLB, Harper, the guy for the Phillies, he said he's not playing.
Bryce Harper, yeah.
Bryce Harper. Yeah. And I agree, and I think that, every player should get that choice. We might have kind of like you might have one of those, what we called didn't you call them like a protest year league or something? Kind of like they're not going to play, where it's not really that they're just protesting, but just, hey, I'm thinking about my health and my safety and my family, and I'm not playing this year, which might be interesting.
They signed something just last week, I think it was Friday or Thursday, where they signed that there's no consequences to your contract if you opt out and say you're not playing. You're just not going to get paid. And then you pick right back up when it's time to...
The following year, yeah.
Following year, which I think is a great thing. Nobody has actually opted out yet. But I think there's probably a couple people thinking about that, have a couple bags, money's nice. And, wifey might be on his nerves. Like, no, you're not going out there catching the corona.
Yeah, right. Well, and again, that's my biggest concern, is you just don't know the long-term effects. And I would hate to see like some of my favorite players get like COVID, and then it affect their game for their health for the rest of their life. And, it deprives me of a good, here's my perspective on it. I'm okay with not having a football season. I'm okay, coach. I'm okay with not having a football season. I know that's fine. It'll free me up to keep you from killing people, and like going out, like, maybe not killing people, but like going on like a crazy like booze binge at like 3 a.m. on a Wednesday, and like pantsing, like walking around naked outside.
I'm wrestling with the guy down the street. I had he said hi to me.
He said hi.
You suck, and I'm wrestling with him down the street.
He says to you, hey man, you all right? And then you're like, that's it, and you just start speaking.
Right.
And I had to come get you. Yeah. So, but I'm okay with it, because I would say a year without sports versus like the impact of like so many athletes that would ruin, like for me, it would ruin the game. Like, I mean, like my favorite players, like I can only imagine if someone like imagine if Ben, especially because he's a little bit older, got it, and then he's out. I mean, of course he's at the tail end of his career, but what if he had 2 years left in the tank and then he's done? He's just because of the COVID, and then he's got health problems, and then he dies at an early age at like 60 or something. Like that would be upset. That'd be sad to me. Like that'd be sad to see that. And like if we're running back Josh Jacobs of the Raiders, he just started his rookie year, had a great showing, then gets COVID, gets sick, gets sick, can't play anymore, scar tissue on the lungs, all that jazz. It would be disheartening to me. Like, I'd rather them just sit out a year. I can't watch sports. I'll just have to remember how we ran Madden simulations on the PlayStation? But like that one day, that's what we'll have to watch. We'll just have to like make Madden simulations and watch those. Like, yeah, like this is how the NFL would have went this year.
Right, the COVID year. But it also has me thinking in the manner of also, like, yeah, I totally agree upon that self. But I'm on that part of the team that's saying, hey man, if you're saying we're supposed to trust these organizations, what you're telling us, and doctors and all that, which we're supposed to do walking through life, that it is right. We don't know the long term. I get that. But they're forcing people to go back to school. They're
Mm-hmm.
forcing our kids to go back to school. So I
Yeah.
don't have the problem if those guys over there that play a professional sport say, "Hey, I want to make my salary this year." I have
Yeah,
no
no,
problem.
I agree. I totally agree with that. And to add to that schooling thing, I think we're going to see a large increase in homeschooling. Now, we live in the state of Pennsylvania, which is very, very restrictive on who can be a homeschool teacher. If you live in like
Yeah.
Alabama, anybody
No,
can be a homeschool teacher. You can just write down and say homeschool, and then all you do is just send them to church every morning, for like a couple hours, and that's homeschool. Like that's how the education system in this country works. So depending on your state, it's still different. Like Pennsylvania is one of the most rigorously tested schools in America, like or states in America when it comes to education. So like it's going to be a challenge. I think it's going to be a challenge in like our state versus like a southern state for those people that don't want their kids to go back to school and don't want to threaten their lives or don't put their kids in immediate danger if that's the case. It's going to be
and
a struggle.
yeah, and I'm kind of concerned of what are they going to do about it? Like if you choose to keep your kid home, obviously the laws, you have to look at the laws that say, because there's truancy officers. I don't know exactly what the laws are. I remember having a meeting because I had kids that were about to be locked up and for football. I hope youth development program, and they were telling me shit that went in one and out the other. I just wanted the kids to get out of the room. So I did what I had to do. But the information they were telling me about laws that you have to be in school. You know what I mean? They could send, like, you can find people. They could send your parent to school, to prison, to the county jail
Yeah.
for truancy in Pennsylvania. So I don't know exactly what those laws are. Maybe that's something we delve into because I think that could get a lot of traction. A lot of people would want to know those things because a lot of people on my line are always asking on my timeline are always asking like, what do we do? Do I send my kid? I don't want to send my kid to get sick. But I also, you know what I mean, don't want to face the consequences of it.
Right, you don't want to face the consequences, and also there's also a part of me too when I think about this scenario and what's going on with COVID. I'm sure there's parents out there that also are worried about the social health of their kids that want to send them to school because they're worried about. I don't know if my kids can grow up living in a world like where it's going to be hard thinking that they're a constant threat and scared of a disease, that could get them, and.
Yes.
They need to, like they're saying, we need to socialize. Our kids need to go out and play with other kids and do
Yes.
that sort of thing. So it's kind of a catch-22, do what you want kind of thing. But I think in states like this, it's going to be hard. Like in like Pennsylvania, it's going to hit like education system wise, it's going to hit this place hard. The decisions that are going to be made. Justin says, glad you mentioned that. He's like, I got to go. My kid's school district is voting on kids going back to school. Take care, guys. Be safe. Hey, Justin, see you later.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. The thing that you mentioned is my concern. I have no other concern besides is the kid going to be so like we talked about before. I think I asked a couple of our guests when it first started. Mm-hmm. What about the kids that are locked down with these people that might be abusing them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they should spend money. Like, if you're going to say the kids got to stay home, get everybody the equipment they need. It's in the budget. I mean, get them something that they can log on and take their things with. And also somebody comes behind and checks to make sure those kids are okay. That would be my concern. And plus what you mentioned was the social activity of being outside of the house, outside of their family structure, because their core beliefs, if they're inside of a family that's core beliefs is not wide open and not like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, like who you want to like, do whatever you want, and they're being taught over and over and over the same thing, they might not get that chance to experience other things in life, and they, may take a wrong turn too.
Right. Hey, and I was gonna say too that bring that full circle. I mean, that's part of like what Portland's trying to do with defund the police, out there is like they're trying to reinvest that money into programs like that in the education system. Right. Because given what's going on with COVID, they're like, hey, we got to get equipment for kids to be safe during this time. We need to do infrastructure changes so that way parents can make good choices and decisions on what they want to do with their kids' education during these times. And that's good, man. Like, I mean, like those cities out there, it's funny how the most controversy is happening in the cities that are making the most progress, in my opinion. Like why are federal agents going out, like just to bring it around circle? I don't want to get too in depth, and I just want to ask that question to everybody that's watching right now. Why does it seem like these federal agents are going out to the cities where the most progressive changes are being made?
Because they're Democrat run. And there's a fact, though. We won't get too deep in that. I know we're coming to that time.
Oh, bro, we're actually 10 minutes overtime right now. I just want you to know that. That's why Justin was like, I got to get out of here, so maybe we'll get close to wrapping it up, but go ahead.
Yeah, just one more thing for people to think about and look into it, is that, let's be honest, man, the top 27 states that with the most crime and violence or everything are Democratic states. So we have to look at that. I have to look at that when I say things and do, you know what I mean, and give information. We have to look at that. It's just a fact.
Right. And I would always argue that you got to look at causation versus correlation as well. Because my thing is yeah, they're democratically run because they have those cities and the higher populations, but I would also, like the cities, you're saying the cities, because I don't think all the states are I don't think you're talking about the states, but you're saying the cities, the largest 20 cities are democratically run?
What did I say?
I think you said states.
Well, I can't, I don't know. Somebody check on that. It could be states, bro.
Okay. But anyway, I would just say, because I think that if they were Republican run, to be honest with you, they would probably be worse. That's just my opinion anyway. Just based on
if you got the rest, okay. The top states.
We could get into it a different time on a different show, because I would like to get the information on that.
You can't just throw that jab out there and then just dip out. You do that a lot. Mm-hmm. Even if they're saying the biggest 27 cities are Democratic ran, the other 27, the other cities that's behind them are Republican. There's no way you can say that it'd be worse if the other Republican states, there's states that are in the mix that could be in the top 27, could be just as bad.
Do we have, because I'm saying this because I don't have the information in front of me. Like I just throw out my opinion. That's why I said, I'm not going to get into it, because I don't have the information. So I don't like what you just said about the other 20 cities being Republican ran. I have no idea if they are or aren't, and I don't know what their crime rates are. So I'd have to look into that and see. Because you might be right. I'm just saying off the top of my head, based off of conservative beliefs, I would think that if they were actually in charge of those cities, they'd be worse. And
you're saying in charge of the same cities. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I thought you were saying in general, like the ones that they run would be just as worse. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, in cities. I'm saying if you had a Republicans ran city, my hunch is, like, if you had a city that was ran by Republicans, I feel like it would be worse.
Like, you think New York would be worse?
Yeah, I think because you would have higher crime, because based off of like what I know about conservative people and their relation to the cops, their war on drugs, their thoughts on a lot of those things, they would up all of those, which would increase the crime rate, because they would be shaking down more people, taking more black people, or not even just black, but poor people out of their homes, like fathers out of their homes, and putting them in the prison system, because they would be looking at them more and more and more. They'd probably even up crimes in what's the word I'm looking for?
Petty crimes.
Yeah, they would up the sentencing for like petty crimes and all that, and cause all kinds of troubles that already exist within the poor communities in those cities. And that's just, like I said, that's just all based off of that. I could look at the statistics, and maybe you're like, what you said might be correct, but that's just off top of my head.
I'm sorry, it wasn't states; it was the top 27. So we'll get into that a little. Cities. We'll get into that a little more. I think that's interesting. I think that's very interesting that people need to know before they go into those voting booths this November. They really need to look at stuff and start forcing them changes. So that's pretty. Oh, I got one more thing. I got a couple RIPs, because these guys I kind of looked up to. You got Congressman John Lewis passed away, member of MLK's team back in the day for civil rights. He's been in Congress all these years, been making a lot of good changes, always on the front lines fighting, nonviolent. He went to jail over 40-something other times. And plus Regis Philbin. I always liked Regis. He passed away over the weekend, too. I don't know if you know who that is. Just an old-time entertainer.
Regis. Yeah, I do remember. Like Regis and Kelly?
Yes.
Okay.
Regis, him. Just an old school kind of guy that I know watching growing up. Just wanted to say R.I.P. because he didn't get that much attention, and I don't know why. Just throwing it out there. That's all I got.
Oh, okay. I didn't. I thought it sounded like you had like someone else that passed away that you needed to talk
that's
about.
it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then, guys, we're gonna wrap up the show. Again, I want to thank everybody coming out, chatting us up today. Justin, Renee, Sarah. Sarah was in the chat for a thing. She said, "What's up, Devin Flip Flop?" So good on Sarah. You know she's coming back around. Justin told her that he missed her.
Until Justin was gone.
Well, no, Justin said, "I missed you, baby." Then I didn't see a message after that. I think they're going through a breakup right now. It's sad, you know? It's sad. But anyway, yeah, guys, hey, we love you. If you haven't already, go to the YouTube. We just put out a video for the Black Lives Matter deep dive where me and Coach sat down and looked through their website and did some research and talked about ideas of Marxism and a bunch of other stuff. If you're into that, go check it out. But we're out of here. So, as always, stay beautiful, take care of yourselves, and have a good night. See ya.